Yeah, I spend all day just thinking about my games and stuff like that. For
Yeah,
the
it's the second number one thinking place for guys, right?
Yeah.
Second.
The second, yes.
So Dillon, you're down on the bottom left for me. Which one of you guys is Andrew? Gotcha. And so we got Kyle down here. Cool. Hey Sean, how you doing, man?
Hey, welcome. Good to see you guys. I'm doing good.
Sorry, I initiated the call a little early here.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, no big deal. I just got off work, so. All right. Thanks for making it, everyone. Oh wait, we're missing someone. No, we're not.
Are we?
No. I was thinking Connor, but yeah, there's a reason he's not here. All right. So we have 3 chosen finalists, and we are here to get your guys' opinion of Ryan, and the decision's gonna be between him or Connor. Connor did a really good job. He actually, because did you see the rating system everybody was doing?
Yeah, I did.
So collectively, Connor did the best actually, but it comes down to what I think the best party will be, and everyone's choices and stuff. So in the brief time I got to know you in your interview, I feel like your personality would probably be a better fit for these 3, even though Connor did so well in his interviews. So I pitched it to these 3, saying that they're for sure picked, and I'm going to let them make the decision and give you a second shot since you missed that interview. So
yeah.
We'll probably know by then after the interview or tomorrow, and then we'll announce it to everybody. So the other interview was everybody against everybody. So it was like 5.5 hours long. This one we're focusing obviously on you, but you're also interviewing me and you're also interviewing them to make sure this is something that you do want to be a part of. So we'll kind of run it like we did last time, but it's going to be more open, free-flowing than the last one was super structured. So we'll start off with just some talking, and then as people have questions, we'll open it up, and we will give you that 10-minute spotlight section, just because make it fair, because everybody else has to do that.
Sure.
And then we'll all bring up topics and stuff as they come to us, and we'll just discuss it and see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I can just start by introducing myself.
Sure.
Of course, my name is Ryan. I live in Seattle, Washington. I'm 34 years old, and like I said, I'm a truck driver by profession. I've been playing RPGs for most of my life, like on the video game side of the world, and just over the last few years have been getting involved in D&D. I have been streaming my games recently and getting more into like the Twitch and the YouTube, creating YouTube content side of things, and I've been really enjoying it. I've been really enjoying posting my games up on YouTube, and I've shown them to my family. This is something like they didn't even know that I ever did or anything like that. So I showed my parents my YouTube channel and stuff like that, and they thought it was pretty cool. I went through the interview process. I unfortunately I missed the callback with you guys, but I know how the interview process itself was pretty intensive. It was a little exhausting, and so I can't even imagine what you guys went through on the whole 5-hour deal. So yeah, I really do appreciate you guys taking a little bit more time to give me the final shot here, because I understand how taxing that process probably was for you guys.
Yeah, man. Hey, we're here to make a good show, man. We're just trying to figure out what the deal is. So we. Sean, when I talked with Sean one-on-one for a little bit, he, not to toot your own horn, I guess, but I mean, he had good things to say, and I was certainly curious to, we all have life things that happen, so I wanted to hear more about you. So it's 12 o'clock on the East Coast, but it's not like it's not my bedtime, so, I'm good. So
I gotcha. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd say I'm very curious to to get to know you a bit better. So I did watch your videos on YouTube to get a bit more of a feel. Yeah, to see how like you enjoy DMing, what you like to talk about, your default kind of description choice, or how you like to interact with your players. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say my Curse of Strahd game is a lot different than my Tomb of Annihilation game is. It's like been way more roleplay focused so far already, since we've only had 2 sessions. But we've had 2 sessions, and we just got into Barovia. But I mean, I think between those 2 games, we made like less than 10 dice rolls, because it's all very dialogue oriented and talking, and all the players are role playing a lot. So I've been enjoying that a lot, because in my Tomb of Annihilation game, it's kind of a mix of play styles with the players, and so sometimes it turns into a real slugfest. But I've been trying to steer them back towards to like role playing with each other more, and bringing their character backgrounds more to the forefront of the game. Yeah,
because I definitely feel like you probably feel you're more restricted, modularly like rule based on your tomb, and you seem a bit more free open with your curse.
Yeah. And that's just the type of players. Like in my Tomb of Annihilation game, I have a guy that's going to school for game design. I have a really stubborn guy he's all about the mechanics and this hardcore rules lawyer, you know, so that can be very challenging to deal with. But he's still like a fun player and stuff. But man, he really he'll go after me for anything that I fuck up, you know.
I hate that.
That's not annoying at all. Love it.
Dillon, you got anything to start with?
No, not right now. Just see how it goes.
Sounds like Dillon.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, there you go. Rock and roll.
All right, Ryan, let's give you a little bit of time to talk about your play style as a player, obviously not as a DM. As a player, the kind of things that you're good at, things maybe that you're not, what you're looking for in other players, what people can expect from you, stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So I've been playing with a lot of the same players over the past 4 years. I've built kind of a little role-playing community throughout my games, and a lot of those players are now like branching out and starting to DM. So they've been like offering me games of their own, you know, that they're like, come play with me now, you've been doing all this for me, now come let me do some of this for you. So actually I played in one of those games this morning, and I really have not played that much as a player. I've never been in a session that lasted more than 3 or 4, or a game that lasted 3 or 4 sessions. And so today in the game we played in, you know, I think that I'm good at as a player, I'm good at moving the game forward. I think I'm good at that as a DM as well, but you know, a lot of the other players are very quiet and don't talk very much. They don't interact with the NPCs very much, and so somebody's got to do that, right, in the party. So I think I can be a very good like party face, but I don't have trouble being like I've never been in a group where everybody's a party face, and I feel like in this game you're looking for players where everyone's going to be the party face, you know.
Yeah, it's about balance.
Yeah, about balance. And I think like I'll probably talk about that in my spotlight a little bit, but I definitely think my strength as a player is getting the information from NPCs that might be necessary to drive the story forward, and just being able to like help the other players who necessarily don't talk so much or aren't able to communicate as well with the NPCs of the world or the world as a whole.
What are you looking for in fellow players?
Fellow players, I think the same thing. Like, it can be kind of difficult, like in the game today, after a while. We played for 4 hours, and after 2 hours, I was the only one talking, and nobody else really wanted to pipe up, and it starts to feel like very one-sided at that point. Like, I can tell that the other players are still having fun, but I would prefer like to be interacting with their players as well, or their characters as well, and not just the NPCs. So even when I would ask them about their characters and where they came from and stuff, you know, they would be very short. And so it would be I would like to play with players that if I question them about their character's background or their story or where they came from, that they would be more dynamic with me and actually give me something to go on, you know, instead of just it ending.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah, shoot.
when you saw, I'm gonna play interviewer for a second. When you saw the article and for HotA here about looking for players, what was it about that made you want to apply for this position?
My biggest draw to apply for this position was that I have been streaming a lot, and I've been doing my YouTube channel, and I watch a lot of the other more popular streamers on Twitch and stuff like that, and the ones that are successful, I think, build a community of role players on Twitch, and they play together, and then people become attached to those personalities as dungeon masters or people, and players as well. And so I want to start building that kind of community and relationship, and so that's why I was drawn to this game, because becoming involved with something that's trying to do the same thing that I'm doing and forming a partnership, I think is just moving in the right direction for trying to become a more popular online personality or entity per se. Yeah.
I dig it. I have more questions, but I'll let other people ask if they would like to.
For sure.
So you said that you haven't played as much, but obviously as a DM, you play a lot of NPCs and characters and different, either what you call enemies or kinds of different types of challenges. What do you find is the most enjoyable for you to either play as or interact as to the other players? Like, do you like being a fighter? Do you like being a caster? Do you like being a sneaky schemer? Or do you like being like someone who draws out the long scheme and then you wait to the end to like smack it at the final climax? What do you like?
I like being the NPCs that are from the players' backstories, because that's what gets them most excited from somebody in their story that pops up out of nowhere. That really like gets everybody buzzing at the table. So those are my favorite NPCs to play. But I do like the villain that's kind of a mystery for a while and is trying to like pull tricks and schemes on the party as they go. I'm excited to play Strahd. I think the group's gonna meet them right away and like toy with them verbally, become very interested in the players as they enter the realm, and really I'm gonna try and terrify them, make them piss their pants a little. But yeah, I definitely love playing the NPCs from the players' backstories. That's always the most fun.
Okay.
Let's address the topic that's kind of the major question for everybody, and in my mind too, about the you missed the last interview, and not defending yourself, but maybe an explanation of why you didn't make it. I sent you several messages saying it's coming up, are you gonna make it? Other people confirmed and you didn't, and just maybe reassure any doubts that we may have about your commitment to the game if you're selected. You do truck driving, maybe explain that a little bit. How's that going to affect, Tuesday nights when we're playing, your other games with those ever interfere, just stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So at the end of the the initial interview, you invited me back for the callback, but I just never asked you like when that was going to be. And after that upcoming weekend, I already had a bunch of plans. I was going to go and visit my parents, and then my girlfriend had been trying to adopt a dog, and she got an email back from one of the people, but they were in Portland, so it was like a 4-hour drive away. And so I just didn't check any of my social media stuff for the entirety of the weekend, and when I got back on Monday night, I was like, holy shit, I'm like way too late for this now. So I mean, really, I didn't look at it, and that's my bad. Like, I cut off my communication to go visit my family and do all this stuff with my girlfriend over the holiday weekend. I had just already made all those plans, and I didn't realize that the callback was going to be so soon. If I had like looked at it right away and known, like, I would have made it work, and I just hadn't checked. I just hadn't checked any of my media. But, moving forward beyond that, if I'm selected, like, this will definitely be a priority for me. And, you know, on my Tuesday, I get done pretty early, so I even usually am home, you know, a couple of hours before the games would start to prepare myself for, you know, if you needed us to show up early and stuff like that, I'd be able to do it.
Okay. And how does your truck driving work? Do you do long hauls? Do you do local? Do you do...
So I work for a company called First Uniforms, and so I basically have like a 120 or 130 accounts that I service that are like auto parts stores, Costco's, grocery stores, anywhere that would like have uniforms and stuff like that. You know, I do a lot of customer service. I bring in their garments, I pick up their dirty, I service their like paper products and all that kind of thing. So I do mostly a lot of driving like around the Seattle area where I live. So every day that I have is kind of self-contained, you know, and they have us run our routes kind of like our own small little businesses. So we're trying to like sell also and get new customers and things like that all the time.
Okay.
Too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So some of the topics that, because in the callback we would do a timed 10-minute topic, and people were fighting to get heard and to speak and not overstepping other people. And then we rotate to a 10-minute spotlight, and we just go back and forth until the very end. Obviously, that doesn't make sense for this structure, but we can bring up some of the topics we talked about, just so they can kind of hear where you are on these things. And let's see, how do you feel about constructive criticism, and what's the importance of it? When is it? When should we have it? If there is, how should people take it? How do you give it? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that constructive criticism is pretty important. Where I live in Seattle, it is like extremely leftist and very PC culture is like at the forefront of like the community where I live in Seattle right now. So you can't go anywhere and say anything without offending somebody, even if you're just trying to constructively criticize them. And so I think that's really like in the long term going to probably negatively affect our culture as a whole unless something changes. But I think constructive criticism is very important. If you're not aware of yourself and you're not willing to allow others to make you aware of something, then you're never going to like be a better person when it's easy to become one.
Okay. And then you three, based off how the interviews have gone, how the callback went, and what you've heard me say and each other say that have been selected, how do you, I'll have on these topics, he'll say what he thinks, and then you guys will talk about how our group is, where our stance is on it. So how do you feel our group stance is on constructive criticism?
I'd say that it's not only good, it's kind of essential to actually get a good gauge exactly of not only what you're doing and how you're doing it, but also to know if you need to improve on something, or if maybe what you're doing might not be working well with other people, and you want to at least be upfront about it and say, hey, I'm not really digging this, or I'm not really cool with this. Is there maybe some way we can fix it or work with it? Or, hey, I know you're trying to do this, but it's not working so well. Maybe try this. It's just going to help everyone else in the long run. It just makes it so that we improve. You can't improve unless you know about it. And I feel that's the biggest key is that constructive. It's there to make everything better.
Yeah.
Well, I think I remember one of the things that I said from the interview day was, if we're gonna do this thing, we're gonna go balls to the wall with it. It's an interesting process because we have to very quickly, very quickly forge friendships, and that's a thing that takes a little bit of time, especially when it comes to things like trust in someone else. I mean, I've been working with people for years that I still don't consider friends, where, I'll tell them, oh, your shirt looks great today. And like, I don't, I'm just saying it to be nice and stuff. But I gave the example of if I said that to my wife and she really looked terrible, not only would I be in trouble for not saying anything, but then when someone else said something, like, I'd be in more trouble, if that makes sense. But I use that example because us as a group, like we have to constructively criticize each other, or one, we're not going to be a really good group. We're just going to keep saying, "Oh man, your voices sound awesome, man," and we're trying to put on a show at the same time. So we have to kind of keep each other in check, or we're just going to be lollipops and rainbows with each other. And I think it's only going to be better to grow if, myself included, if I'm doing something that I should improve on, I need to hear it, because if not, I'm just going to keep doing the same dumb shit, and then it's just going to be bad. So that's kind of where one of the staples that I'm really going to try to hold strong to with you guys, as a group, to do my due diligence to not only give it, but also take it, receive it, implement, and move on, and not take it so close to the chest. We're all here to put on a good show, and we need to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest things as well. Don't take it personally. I know we, in the last interview, had a pretty grueling session where we had to just do negative call-outs on everyone, and some people reacted not great to it. Some people just took it on the chin and kept going.
Some people couldn't even say anything.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
That's the point of the constructive criticism, though. There's always something you can improve on. That being said, there's also a time and place for constructive criticism. For instance, it was like Kyle was saying, we need to get this shit hammered out before we actually start, because if we're doing this, if we have certain attitudes or personalities that aren't exactly meshing when we start, and then they just suddenly drastically change, people are going to pick up on that. So the more that we get hammered out beforehand, the more that we're willing to be like, hey, it's 2 weeks till game time, but you're kind of an asshole. Please stop doing this. It's just going to be better in the long run. Of course, do it tactfully, and
not while we're streaming. Before or after.
Yeah, don't jump into the side chat on Twitch and be like, God, that guy's such a dick.
I never even look at my chat when I'm on stream. Yeah.
So, whenever we start, as we're going through, I want another priority for all of us to have is to make each other look good. So, you guys, I'm okay with, on a normal game setting, challenging me if I'm in the wrong on something, but because this is a production, I'm looking for you guys to just go with the flow, and then we can address it when we end the game, when we're talking about afterwards. And then on the flip side, I'm also not going to be setting you guys up for failure. I'm going to be presenting scenarios for you guys to succeed. Now that doesn't mean they're not going to be challenging, or that you guys may make the wrong choices, or you might make the right choices. It's going to shit roll. But I'm going to be setting you guys up to be successful, but there's going to be challenges you have to overcome. So I'm going to be looking for just collaborative effort in everything that we do, and purposefully looking for ways to make each other shine, and not just it be about me and you make it about you. About if we're all practicing humility, does that make sense? We'll all get our equal share, but when it's your time, don't hesitate and just take it and run. Like with Ryan was saying with those other players that don't interact, it puts you in a spot where you have to do all the heavy lifting. You have to do all the communicating just to progress the story. But when one person's doing it because the others don't want to, it really imbalances the game, and definitely not what we're looking for in this.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things is, at least why I think some of us were chosen, is because each one of us has a presence. I don't think that having to carry the group is going to be an issue with this game or this production solely because of that. But it's also really important. One of the other things we talked about in the interview was when to know when to not be the center of attention and when to let other people shine. If you say you're used to being the person who carries everything, you might instinctually try and fill that role, even though you might not need to.
Yeah. This all is like playing into my spotlight perfectly, so...
Do you want to start spotlight now?
Yeah, sure.
Now.
I can do
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so actually, Dillon, you have, 4 years. You're kind of like me, like 4 years exclusively DMing. Kyle, you said you DM for your kids. Andrew, you got 15 years of experience under the belt. I'm sure there's some solid DMing experience in there. DMing takes a lot of work when I'm not, like I said, when I'm not in my game, I'm thinking about my games and the characters in them. I started this hobby with really only, my knowledge of role-playing games through video games and stuff like that. And when I picked...
stop you real quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
The cord is wrapped up around your mic and it's making...
Oh, gotcha. I gotcha.
There we go. Go ahead.
It was kind of a bumpy ride for me at first when I first started on Roll20. Many of the games that I joined, fell apart quickly, but I was still really enjoying the experience, and there's a different energy about tabletop role-playing games than any other game or hobby that I've really personally participated in. So I didn't really want to give it up, and the joy that I found just caused me to start DMing. So my first campaign lasted like 7 months, and when it was done, I finally realized why I enjoyed D&D so much. And I think it's whether that people know it or not, when people sit down to play D&D, they're really letting their guard down. You sit down with 4 strangers especially, and you show up to a game, and you get to know people better sometimes than like friends you've had for years, because it brings out their creativity and they explore all these different sides of themselves inside the safety net of kind of being a character. I played with over 100 unique strangers now on Roll20 that I've run games for, and after I played with people for a while, they tell me about how much they've been able to overcome like depression, social anxiety, death, illness, mitigating or mediating those struggles in life through my games that we play together in like a really healthy way. And so over the course of my time on Roll20, I've gotten to know a bunch of awesome and creative people all over the world. Like, I probably have places to stay now in like Denmark and Sweden and India and China from being a dungeon master, so it's the people that I meet and the space that I can give them to work through their difficult times in their lives through that creativity and through character building and forming new relationships that I love. That's why I love DMing so much. And so I think it would be pretty awesome to be in a player group of DMs. I think that would add a pretty cool dynamic between a group of players that probably would be able to read between the lines through each other and lead to a much higher level of role-playing and character building and approaching adventures. So I was curious about why you guys love DMing so much. That's why I love DMing so much.
Who wants to go first?
Do you have a choice?
Yeah, well, Dillon, how about you? Since you're kind of like in the same boat as me, DM from the beginning, from the get-go.
I started off as a player, got a few levels into it, and kind of hit a rocky patch. I won't say I'm a power player, but I do like moving the story along and making choices and being a voice in the party. A lot of players don't like that. They kind of just, I feel like, want to be on rails a lot of the time. A lot of DMs, I think, as well, don't like it when the players just do something that they didn't prepare for or didn't think about and throws them for a loop. So I played that one game. Unfortunately, the DM actually passed away. And after that, I was looking for games, and I just thought about, why if people, take objection to me being the leading voice as a player, why shouldn't I just be the leading voice as the DM? Tried it out, found out that I enjoyed it. I haven't played a game in years, actually, as a player.